that CNN and Acosta have sued, that there will be a court hearing on Tuesday on this very matter that we've been discussing.
Not that I know of.
Well, I know of it.
You may be ahead of me.
I've been told that because I've been asked to give an affidavit, which I prepared, to be submitted to the court.
They are not angels.
The rumor mill is swirling. Reports are coming in that CNN and their chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, are preparing to sue the Trump administration over the revocation of Acosta's permanent press credentials, commonly referred to as a hard pass. Former ABC News reporter and anchor Sam Donaldson appeared Sunday on CNN's Reliable Sources with Brian Stetler and said he believed a lawsuit had already been filed. "I hope I'm not mistaken, but it's my understanding that CNN and Acosta have sued, that there will be a court hearing on Tuesday on this very matter that we've been discussing," Donaldson said. According to a CNN spokesperson, the lawsuit hasn't been filed. No decisions have been made. "We have reached out to the White House and gotten no response," the spokesperson told the Examiner. CNN previously said the move to bar Acosta was done in retaliation for his challenging questions. Donaldson allegedly knew about the lawsuit because the news network asked him to provide an affidavit on their behalf. A veteran First Amendment lawyer says that CNN should sue the White House for revoking press access from reporter Jim Acosta. Floyd Abrams, a constitutional law expert, told that CNN has a case. "I think it's a really strong lawsuit," Abrams said. "I can understand CNN being reluctant to sue because the president keeps saying CNN is the enemy of me, and CNN might have reluctance to have a lawsuit titled CNN versus Donald Trump. That said, yes, I think they should sue," Abrams said. The alleged lawsuit is the latest in a string of incidents involving CNN's Jim Acosta. Last Wednesday, the White House suspended the CNN chief White House correspondent hours after Acosta pressed Trump at a press conference. Acosta was forced to turn in his Secret Service hard pass, which speeds up entry and exit from the White House. Abrams said Acosta's ouster sets a dangerous precedent. "This is going to happen again," he said. "It's likely to happen again. So whether it's CNN suing or the next company suing, someone is going to have to bring a lawsuit. And whoever does is going to win unless there's some sort of reason." The White House originally claimed that Acosta placed his hands on an intern who tried to take a microphone from him. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called it inappropriate behavior. The video showed otherwise. CNN called Sanders' explanation a lie. She provided fraudulent accusations and cited an incident that never happened, the network said. Abrams, the attorney, said if the White House claims that Acosta choked or touched this woman, that's a very good reason to revoke his pass. But it seems to be untrue, Abrams said. Video of the event shows that Acosta did not mistreat the intern. "Pardon me, ma'am," he said, when she reached for the mic. After asking another question, he gave her the mic. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, "The Trump administration won't stand for a reporter placing his hands on a young woman just trying to do her job as a White House intern." Various journalism organizations stood with Acosta. Huckabee Sanders reiterated that the White House stands by their decision to revoke Acosta's access.
They got worse. They're worse now than ever. They're loco, but that's okay.
How long are you going to leave Jim Acosta in the penalty box?
I think Jim Acosta is a very unprofessional man. I think he does this with everybody. He gets paid to do that. You know, he gets paid to burst in. He's a very unprofessional guy. Whether it was me or Ronald Reagan or anybody else, he would have done the same thing. Look, I don't think he's a smart person, but he's got a loud voice. And here, wait, David, do you mind if I answer the question? And as far as I'm concerned, I haven't made that decision, but it could be others also. When you're in the White House, this is a very sacred place to me. This is a very special place. You have to treat the White House with respect. You have to treat the presidency with respect. If you've ever seen him dealing with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's a disgrace. And he does it for, you know, the reason. The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She gets publicity and then she gets a pay raise or she gets a contract with, I think, CNN. But she's very nasty, and she shouldn't be. She shouldn't be. You've got to treat the White House and the office of the presidency with respect.
Let's bring in Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and a Fox News contributor. Ari, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, where do we begin? You've been listening to the show. You've been following the news this morning. It's a tough moment right now.
Sure, you saw the press conference yesterday, that the exchange that's getting a lot of attention. We asked Kellyanne Conway about that last hour. She was with us and said the following about reporters at the White House and the job they're trying to do. And you, as a former White House press secretary, you're very keen on this topic, so I'll get you to react after we hear from Kellyanne. Watch.
There are journalists here at the White House and the White House press corps who every single day try to do their job by getting the story. Others try to get the president. They shall remain nameless right now. I think that some people like to grandstand and be part of the story. There's no question about that. We hear that from other journalists.
It went on from there, but what is your feeling on this as you watched it?
Well, two things. Number one, there was no physical contact that was anything bothersome. You know, that was incidental contact, and I think that was a false reason for pulling his pass. But second, Jim Acosta has had a long history of being an editorial writer in that room, not a fair or neutral questioner. Tough questions, challenging questions are the job of White House reporters. But when he starts giving his opinion and using that podium as the place to do it, it's wrong. And that's why the White House did this. And I support that. I cannot defend Jim Acosta. When he says to the President of the United States in the middle of a news conference, it's not an invasion. That's his opinion. And if he wants to be an editorial writer, more power to him. If he wants to be a columnist or have a nighttime TV show to give his opinion, more power to him. But that is not the job of White House reporters. And I think the White House finally got fed up with him using his perch at the White House to give personal opinions.
Yeah, well, both have put out their reaction to that. CNN, the White House put out this statement: revoking access to the White House complex is a reaction out of line to the purported offense and is unacceptable. I'm sorry, so this is the White House Correspondents Association. Journalists may use a range of approaches to carry out their jobs, and the WHCA does not police the tone or frequency of those questions. Its members ask of powerful senior government officials, including the president. Such interactions, however uncomfortable they may appear to be, help define the strength of our national institutions.
Jim Acosta and the CNN correspondent's conduct when President Trump called on him at that presser. You were there in that room with President Bush. Was this different than the kinds of questions that Bush got?
Totally different. You know, it's one thing for reporters to be challenging, to be tough. That's their job. They do it all the time. It's another thing for them to use that room or the briefing room to espouse their personal policy preferences, their individual points of view. And that's what Jim Acosta has been doing since Donald Trump became president. And I think that, more than anything involving that physical altercation, which really was a nothing altercation, I think that is the rub of the matter. That's what's.
But then he kept on talking. Like I'm talking over you now. He wouldn't give up the mic. But at the same time, was it an overreach or a misstep for the White House to suspend his credentials? Because that shifted the whole spotlight from whatever Jim Acosta did or didn't do to whether the White House is being punitive toward the press.
Look, in the Bush White House, you know, what I would have done was I'd have tried to just take advantage of that moment and say, well, Jim, I hope you get your op-ed published in the newspaper tonight. And then on to the next reporter and let them ask a question. I would deflect and try to use a little humor and try to make everybody laugh at him for being an obvious editorial writer instead of a neutral journalist. But the Trump White House does everything differently, and I'm not going to defend Jim Acosta. It is not the role of White House reporters to express their opinion. He makes other reporters in the room look bad when he's the one out there expressing his opinion, because that type of thing just amplifies onto everybody. The public hates it. Ask a question, ask a hard question. And you know what, Howie? What he could have done was simply, instead of saying the caravan is not an invasion, Mr. President, he could have said critics say, some say,
as opposed to I'm debating you. But let me move on now.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.